In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an amazing poster design in Photoshop. Grab your mouse as we dive in. So first and foremost, we are going to create a new document. Choose a solid color. With a solid color in place, we are going to create a new layer. Grab a soft brush, right click and change roundness to normal. Increase opacity, so opacity is set to 100. Then we are going to set the foreground to this high school. Undo. We are just going to reduce the opacity and we are just going to paint this way. With the layer selected, we are going to reduce the opacity. Create a mask. Grab the gradient tool. Then we are just going to drag this way to erase some parts. We are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, we grab a soft brush. Set opacity to 100. Make the brush bigger by the right bracket key. And we are just going to make some few clicks. With the layer selected, we are going to set the blend mode to multiply. Ctrl J, we make a copy. And we are going to reduce the opacity of the second. So we are going to select all this layer. Ctrl G, we make a group. Then we are going to lock it. So let's grab our items now. First and foremost, we copy this. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. And we are just going to align it this way. Ctrl C, we copy this item. Ctrl C to copy, Ctrl V to paste. So we just want to copy all these items together. We hold shift and select all the items, then we copy. Let's grab the text now. Ctrl T, and we are just going to position it right here. So first and foremost, we can put all the tomato layers off. Tomato layers, seriously. We are going to drop this layer. With the layer selected, we create a mask. We grab a soft brush, we set hardness to 100, opacity to 100, then our foreground is set to black. Then we are just going to erase this part. With the move to selected, we are going to rotate it a bit. Then we position it. So Ctrl J, we make a copy. We rotate this and position it right here. We make it smaller. With this layer selected, we are going to make another copy, Ctrl J. Then we just position it right here. We make it smaller. Then we just rotate it. So we can now bring this layer back and right click and convert to smart object, Ctrl T. We make it small, bigger a bit. Then just position it right here. No, it needs to stay above this layer. Alright. So we just shift it a bit, position it right here. You won't believe me if I tell you what this is. So we are just going to make it go around everything. So we just position it. Once it's in place, we make a copy. Ctrl J to make a copy. Ctrl T. Then we're just going to right click and flip vertical. We right click one more time and flip horizontal. We are just going to position it right here. So we drop the layer so that it's actually beneath the tomato. Alright, so we have it this way. With the layer selected, we are going to warp it so that it actually curves around it. First of all, we convert to smart object. We right click and we choose warp. So we are just going to warp it. With the layer selected, we are going to create a mask. Grab a soften brush. We set hardness to 100, opacity to 100. Foreground is set to black. Then we are just going to erase this part. Then we are going to do same for this area. We set foreground to black. And we are just going to erase this part. We set foreground to white and we paint back. Alright, we have it this way. S can be used to switch between foreground and background. With this layer selected, we create another mark. We create a mask. We zoom in. Foreground is set to black, and we are just going to erase this way. Now everything is in place, so we are just going to apply exposure, adjustment layers, and blend everything all together. Then we go for camera raw. So with this item selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With a mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. You grab a soft brush. This time around, we are reducing the opacity way down, and we are setting hardness to 0. So we are going to set our foreground to white. We make the brush bigger by the right bracket key, and we are just going to paint some soft shadows. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer, so the effect applies only to the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. Then we grab a soft brush, we zoom in, increase the opacity. Foreground is set to white, and we are just going to paint. We paint. Once that is too much, we swap foreground to black and we erase. So we are going to create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft round brush, and we are going to paint some shadows right here. We set foreground to white, and we are going to paint some shadows right here. That's way too much, so we swap foreground to black, and we are just going to erase. With this layer selected, we are going to create an exposure adjustment layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. Grab a soft brush. Foreground is set to white, so we can paint. So foreground set to white, and we are just going to paint. We are going to create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. This time around, we are going to take the opacity down. Foreground is still set to white, and we paint. We create another exposure adjustment layer clipped onto the layer. With the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We increase opacity. and we are going to paint. So we do the same for all the items. You create an exposure adjustment layer, clip onto the layer with the mask selected, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soften brush and we paint. So we are just going to do that for anything else. So we are just going to copy the particles and we are just going to match the color. So we apply here in saturation adjustment layer, create a mask, Ctrl I to invert. We grab a soft tone brush and we are just going to paint some back. So once we have everything in place, we press Ctrl Alt Shift E to merge all layers. Right click and convert to smart objects. Once you have everything in place, you're just going to press Ctrl Alt Shift E to merge all layers. We right click and convert to smart object. Then we go for filter, camera raw filter. Then we are just going to play with everything around here. Once that is cool, then we click OK. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay creative.